With us, Mr. Mark Nelson, who is the education coordinator over at Rio. Did I get that title right?
You got that right.
I nailed it. Awesome. So Digging Deep is a show we have every other Wednesday where we bring on a special guest to talk about different issues going on in the community, different topics of interest. We bring on different interesting characters, artists, professionals, and Mark is kind of a local celeb in the jewelry world. All of the guys here at T.Skies were really excited to have him come in and talk to us about just jewelry making in general, kind of a jewelry 101. He's an educator. And I want to let you introduce yourself from there.
Okay. Well, my name is Mark. I'm the education coordinator at Rio Grande, just as she just said. And my job primarily there is to help schools and instructors and get the supplies that they need for their classes and generally lend as much support that we can to them. I am still a practicing jeweler. I have a master's degree in jewelry from Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas. And I worked for a retail store, did all that stuff. So I can set anything from a 1-carat princess to making something really weird out of worms and feathers. So.
Worms and feathers?
Oh, yeah.
Did that really happen? Is there
it's
a story
happened in
there?
the past. I don't talk about it much, but it has happened.
My interest is piqued. Cool. Well, that leads us into the first question that I had, which is, what is the Rio For Schools program?
The Rio For Schools program, it's our way of helping the industry grow.
Mm-hmm.
Rio Grande has always been very committed to education. From way back when Saul Bell first started the business here in Albuquerque, people would come in and ask have questions. How do I do this? How do I use this material? And he was always willing to help out. And we just carried that forward. We used to offer classes at Rio Grande, at our facility. Mm-hmm. And I was in charge of that. And then now we've kind of shifted our focus to helping schools and instructors across the country and the world. We work with schools. One of them is in Singapore.
Oh, wow.
So we just try to really help to keep them supplied and give them content that they can use to help teach. I've got several high schools that use our videos to help train their kids. And it's just a really great program.
So I know I'm an artist, but I'm a terrible teacher. Mm-hmm. So how did that develop for you, where you kind of moved from one space to another? And was that difficult, or?
I guess I've always been a natural. When I was in undergraduate school at Northern Arizona University, I was teaching other people in the classroom. The professor would do his lesson, and then they would come by like, what did he say?
Yeah, you were that guy.
Right. So I'd help them, and then eventually I got to teach a continuing ed class. So people from the community would come in after hours and do the program. And then I taught a summer course. And then I went to grad school, and I would teach there. And then when I got to Rio Grande, I was actually hired on the tech support team. So I would get calls, and that's when I really learned how to explain things to people.
Yeah.
It's like, because everybody interprets things differently.
Sure.
I could tell you one way, and that person's not going to get it. So I have to figure out what the premise is and explain it in such a way that both of you understand. And that's one of the challenges I love.
Yeah, so it's all about communication.
It is, and kind of key into each person's individual way of learning.
Yes. So. And that kind of blends into one of the things we were talking about before I went live is communication, storytelling, and how everything has a story. And you said each of these pieces has a story to it.
Oh, they do.
So tell us a little bit about what's going on up here on the table.
Oh, where to start? I always start with Betty.
Yeah, I love Betty. And we can put it under this camera for a little close-up.
Okay, so this is Betty. And a lot of my work is from grad school, which is over 20 years ago. So please don't judge me on the tarnish and the condition, okay?
Of course not. We love a patina here at T.Skies.
But we were having some severe difficulties in castings not coming out. So we said we need to somehow solve this problem. I said we need a goddess to sacrifice to. So
to sacrifice to, I love it.
I always present myself with a challenge when I make a piece. I was like, what's the one thing technically that I want to achieve? So carving her my challenge was to carve from wax without adding wax.
Okay.
Strictly removal. So I would literally take 5 swipes of a knife and then take a break because I didn't want to go too far.
So it's like sculpting almost.
It was, yeah. And this is where the little idol that we put on the bench, and there's a little part back in here. You can see.
So do you have that at home or at Rio? Or?
Sits on my bench at home.
Yeah.
Peekaboo.
Oh, hi.
So that was one piece.
Oh, tell me about the bottom side of that, though. I like that part of the story.
Oh, okay. So on the bottom, it says, "What are you looking here for?" The thing with art school is that all the professors turn things over every time. They're gonna look at the entire thing, right? So when you, as a creator, as a jeweler, the back is just as important as the front, right? So I put this little message here for them, and they all laughed because I caught them with two.
I love that. And I love that concept of things looking beautiful from every angle and every side. Because jewelry really is wearable sculpture.
It is.
And I think, you put so much time into the front of something looking beautiful and then neglect the back. Why?
Yeah. I don't know, because you think they don't see it, but that's the part that touches your skin.
Yes.
And I think that's just as important.
Oh, yeah. We get bracelets in here sometimes that have stamp work on the inside. And it thrills us to no end. Because it's just
Thrills
like
me.
your own little something special for you.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some more stories. This is a very dear to my heart. This is a bolo that I did for my father-in-law, who recently passed. And he gave, when you tell people that you're a jeweler, the first thing is like, "Can you make me something?" Right? So he goes, here's a bunch of nugget I got from Alaska. Do something with it.
Let's tilt this up so they can see the stones.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then, so he wanted a bolo, and I got the piece of meteorite from the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, my very first time ever going. This is back in 94, 95. So it's long, very old. So, and I actually made it enclosed, which I'm not sure I would do again, but that's the story behind that.
All of this all has this kind of like fantasy feel to it.
A little bit. A lot of it was very inspired by Star Trek.
Okay.
This is a good piece to represent that. This is one of my first pieces in grad school. It was a brooch. And the assignment was to break out into space.
Oh,
right?
cool.
So, and that was really hard for me to do because I've always been very tight. And my professor kept giving me exercises and break out, break out, break out. So I tried.
That's the nice thing about art school is they make you think in ways that make
You're
you a
not
little uncomfortable.
Yes, that's a great way
And
to
then
put
see
it.
what happens.
Yes.
And that gives me a question that I wanted to ask. What is your teaching philosophy now that you're the one imparting new skills and wisdom on people?
I'm not too sure I have a philosophy at this point because my focus has been on getting people just comfortable with the basic skills. Perhaps that's my philosophy.
Okay.
Is that encouraging people and letting them know that you can do this.
Yes.
You just have to figure out your own way.
I think inspiring confidence as a teacher, especially an art teacher, is where you begin anything.
Yeah, and jewelry seems to be a major roadblock for a lot of people because it is so technical and there's tools. A lot of them are scary.
Yeah.
And so they have to get past that fear barrier. One of my favorite stories is I taught a soldering class, right? And every soldering class, there are people like, "I don't do this because I'm afraid I'll blow up my house," right? And I said, well, that is a possibility. And then we go around the room and we get everybody's story, and she goes, "I'm here because I did blow up my house. Her house caught on fire because of the toaster." And she said, "No more fear for me." I said, "My house is already burned down. Bring on the torch. Let's go."
Bring on the torch. Good for her.
So that was an incredible story. And then I got to tell this one too because I get verklempt every time. Most of the people I've been teaching over the last couple of years have been retirees, in that age area. And I had a lady come to my class and she goes, "Mark, I gotta let you know, this is the first time I've left my town ever." She grew up in the same town in Texas, and the only time she's left her town was to come and take a class with me at Rio Grande.
Oh, wow.
And she goes, "I am now," and her son recently passed. So she says, "I'm now taking on a new life. In my son's old room, I'll build a studio, and then I'm going to carry on with this jewelry making." I'm like,
oh, what
yes.
a beautiful
Yes.
way to process all of that.
It's incredible.
Wow, thank you for sharing those stories. I'm in the story business. I love stories. I like to be a voyeur into people's lives and careers and interests. So where do you begin then? Like for somebody that's coming in that's never used a torch or never soldered, what's kind of the beginning step? Your first class or your second class look like?
It's changed. COVID really taught us a whole new way of learning.
Sure.
And also teaching, right? So previously, before COVID, I would say go take a class, somewhere local or someplace and then break that ice, in a classroom. Now that's not always possible. I mean, we're opening back up,
Mm-hmm.
but still, I think my advice would be take a class, start watching YouTube. I mean, everything is out there online right now. There's live events like this, that are teaching jewelry making, and just dive in. You will make mistakes, and you'll be.
That's how you learn.
That's how you learn, and you hear everybody say that. You're going to have to make mistakes. In my soldering class, I actually engineered it for them to fail at one point.
That's great.
So they would actually melt something, and they're like, "I just melted something." I go, "Yes." now you can move on.
What did you learn from that? Yeah, and then you don't have that fear of doing that because you saw the world didn't end.
Yeah, the world didn't end, and now you can do something else with that little piece of melted jump ring.
That's great. Well, show us a little bit more of your jewelry here.
Before you show the jewelry, I would just clarify, because people are asking, hey, how do I bid? So
oh, yes. None of this jewelry is for sale. This is all Mark's private collection. He's just here to talk about it and tell us stories and teach us a little something about the art of jewelry making. I love the way things are coming up at me. It reminds me a little bit of Fritz Casus. He does wild... Are you familiar with Fritz?
No, not at all.
He's a Navajo silversmith, and he does bracelets that do all these sculptural, interesting things. I'll have to look him up. I think
he's
he'd
also
take his
very
work.
into education too. I think you guys would get along.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
actually, he teaches
at the
Post Center.
and Poake.
The
Yeah.
Vulcan
Okay.
Post Center. Yeah, we should get him on here.
So this is a bottle. We can talk about this.
Oh, is
And
it?
This is an interesting story, and if I tilt this in just the right angle, you can see that it's actually a figure. You got the legs and the arms right here, and the face, and inside is a little applicator
Oh my gosh.
that you would have like oil or something in here, or incense or something like that. And I had no idea that this was a figure until I photographed it for my portfolio.
Yeah.
I just built this as part of the design, trying to balance the space, and I photographed it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a figure.
Does it have little eyes even on the stone?
Yeah.
And then what is this material here?
The black is actually, I think, bronze. It's 20 years old, so I can't really remember.
So you just found this vessel kind of and then
I made
sculpted around it? Oh, wow.
No, this is what they call hand raising. So you take a flat sheet, and with stakes and hammers, you create a vessel. And that's how they make your creamers and your vases and things like that out of sheet metal. So, and then also this is part of my, let's talk about this series here. This is part of my M.F.A. show, my graduate show.
Which was Lubbock, Texas.
Which is in Lubbock, Texas, 1999. And my whole series was called the Fat Belly series. So I've always had this idea of, fat bellies kind of represent fullness of life, right? So I wanted to figure out a way to convey that in these pieces. This is a pendant. And I created a framework in silver, and then I solder on a piece of fine silver on the back, and then use a hydraulic press to push out the belly.
Oh.
And that fine silver will stretch in just such a right texture that's kind of like skin.
Yeah.
So I did a bunch of those.
It's like a little pregnant tummy.
Yeah.
I saw a video of your shop, and you had that hydraulic press in the back, the yellow one.
Oh yeah, my old yellow one.
Did you make that?
I did.
yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have consulted the book first before I did that again. But I've used it quite a bit. My son, both my boys crushed a lot of aluminum cans in it too, so they had fun with that too.
Do you still make a lot of your own tools? And
I try to.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of one of those gadgety guys.
Yeah.
So I'm more into adapting an existing tool than creating my own. It's a lot easier for me to adapt that way.
Oh.
So
That's a good skill to have. Very handy.
especially on the fly as a jeweler.
Sure.
So one of the things I also love doing is making these tape measures. I have a lot of woodworkers in my family.
Wondering what that was.
And so I found out that you can take the guts out of a $4 tape measure and create a whole new case for it. I've made about 3 or 4 of these in different ways. This is for a belt loop. So your belt loop goes in there, slips on.
So do you have a favorite tool?
Oh, you would ask that. No.
Do you have top 5 favorite tools?
How about top 500? No. So I'm serious tool geek. I mean, definitely from the onset. What am I geeking out on right now? I just acquired a set of Fretz miniature stakes.
Mm-hmm.
These are the little stakes that you can use to form all the bezels in different shapes. And they're tiny. They're like, I don't know, about that big, you know? So I'm really anxious to try those out and see what I can do with those.
Have you ever found like an antique tool for maybe like turn of the century?
Not that old, but I did find an antique hammer,
Uh-huh.
I think from the 30s.
Oh,
That is
cool.
my favorite bench hammer.
I bet, because things were made so solid and sturdy.
And you can tell the difference in the steel.
Yeah.
When you're hitting stuff, I mean, you can tell. So.
What do you think would be the most important tool in a beginner's toolkit?
One that works. And I'm serious. I mean, there are some amazing artists, especially in Africa, that take screwdrivers and make the most beautiful engraved pieces you've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
You know, and they're working in the dirt on some piece of random steel that they found. And so it's the best tool is one that works. My favorite plier is a $5 plier I bought in '86, you know, and it still works great.
Yeah.
My favorite saw frame, I have 5 different models, and because I want to try them all out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the one that fits. It's the one that you connect with. The favorite hammer is a 1930 plumbing hammer.
Because it becomes an extension of you.
Exactly.
So everyone's going to have one that fits differently in their hands, or the weight of it, or
Right.
the way it looks even, probably.
And a lot of people, what they want to do is they want to get the most expensive one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, when you're starting out, don't, you know? Get the one that you can afford, that you can make stuff with.
Yeah.
And when I was in tech support, people were like, okay, give me a list of everything I need. I'm like, really? Let me just start with stuff you absolutely need. And they were like, I want the best pliers. I'm like, you know, let's get this set of pliers. It's more affordable, and save some money for silver and solder.
Right.
So you can actually make stuff, you know? And then as you get better, you can increase your tools and get more refined.
So what are a few of those necessity tools that every jeweler needs?
Pliers for sure, hammer, mallet, saw frame, just to make stuff. Those would be like the basic ones.
Yeah. And then from there, with like soldering equipment?
Yep. And then from there, you break off into soldering, more forming, you know? Like if you're going to make rings, you'll need a ring mandrel, right? To form the ring around. You might need some punches or stamps to make texture. And then as you get better and better, you know, you like maybe need a rolling mill or a hydraulic press. And then what kind of those do you need?
And that's the fun thing about being any kind of an artist, is that there's no end to what you can create or learn or experiment with.
And that's why I love jewelry. I mean, every day I've been doing this for, I think, 30 years now. And every day is a learning experience. I walked into my job for the first time at tech support at Rio Grande. I had no idea what I did not know, you know, because it just keeps going and going and going.
What have you learned recently?
Technically?
Or just discovered, maybe, or something that stands out?
The coolest thing that I'm most excited about is the number of high school programs that are exploding.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. Because I take their orders and I'm talking to the teachers. I'm like, how's your program doing? I've doubled in size. They've actually here in town, they've doubled in size.
That's awesome to know.
Yeah, they've had to cancel some ceramic classes to make room for metalsmithing. And that happened just because of COVID.
Wow.
So
for you personally, what is it about jewelry that is so such a necessity to the human experience?
That's a great question, because that's part of my thesis. Is that my professor sat me down. He goes, "Why do you make jewelry?" I was like, "Because I dig it and it's cool and I'm good at it."
'Cause pretty.
He goes, "No. Why do you make jewelry?" He kept asking, "Why?" And I'm like, "It's important, you know." And I was thinking about this before today, our interview, and I said, jewelry is how we present ourselves to the world.
Yeah.
You know, what happens when you give a little kid a sticker book? They put it all over them, right? That's the first thing they do. They start putting it on themselves. That's jewelry.
Yes.
You know, anything you apply to your body is jewelry. And it represents who we are. It represents momentous occasions, you know, marriage, death, all these things. It's symbolic, it's magical. I like it because it's magical.
And it's so personal, connects.
Oh, yeah.
Energetically. And then it's from the earth, too. That's what I think is so beautiful, that we sometimes forget that the metals are from the earth, the stones are from the earth.
The metal, yeah.
So it's just connecting you right down into planet.
Grounding you.
Yeah,
literally.
yeah, which I need lots of. Oh, cool. Well, what do we want to talk about? I'm curious about these two things here.
Okay, let's talk about this one. This is a back scratcher.
No way.
Yeah,
I wasn't
so-
expecting that at all.
And I love back scratchers. I have like a collection of them at home.
Uh-huh.
And so I wanted to make one.
There's lots of love about a back scratcher.
And so I'm going to bring this up. And this is hydraulic pressed out shape, silhouette die formed. And there's little scratch marks in there from like if you were really going after it, you know. And then I wanted to make the scratching part. And this is all tested. It looks great. And this is designed. This is what they would call an art object.
Yeah.
So
What material is this?
that is from a paintbrush.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one of those cheap paintbrushes that you can buy.
That's fun.
And then this is one of the very first, all the pieces.
This is wood?
I forgot what kind of wood. I think it's just like a poplar.
Oh, that's so cool.
Really,
And
like I've noticed that and we see this sometimes where in our jewelry that we're showing, you have different materials that are mixed together.
yeah,
But you tend to always, you have a lot of different materials that you're blending together, and
That's true, yeah.
that's really awesome. It's very difficult too.
it can be a challenge because sometimes they don't want to work together,
Yeah.
you know? And that's one of the great things about art school. It forces you to get out of that whole silver and gold mentality and try different things, you know? What happens if you use a paintbrush and a piece of jewelry or something?
Experimenting with the different properties of the different metals, and like you have different patinas up there, and different textures and different shapes and how all these different metals are interacting.
All right. And this is all part of the three-year process of going through grad school, is exploring and finding myself, finding my voice, you know? So you definitely want to try different things.
I know you said Star Trek was an influence, but what other people were you looking at, or artists, or pop culture, or just anything?
Comic books.
Comic books.
Yeah.
I can see some of that in
I was
this.
really into comic books as a kid. Still am, you know? And I think it's one of the most beautiful art forms. It's really bold, heavy, thick line, and a variety of line and color. So from the early onset, I mean, especially like with these fat belly pendants, it's very comic book inspired.
Yeah, I can
Or
see
influenced, actually, is where I'm looking for. A little bit Japanese too. So
that. Neat. And then what's this one here?
yeah, that's one of my first hollowware forms. I call it a Vulcan ceremonial bowl
Okay.
because I really didn't know what else to call it.
I love it. Works for me.
And basically, it was just an exercise in how to use a hydraulic press, right? So the bowl shapes, all the bowl shapes are hydraulically formed with a silhouette die, then cut up and reassembled. That's actually in a book.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What book?
Star Trek book.
No, it's 500 hollowware objects, I think, from Lark Publishing.
Do you sell jewelry anywhere, your own designs?
No, because I never get a chance to make it.
Too busy teaching.
Too busy, teaching, working, you know, and family and things like that. So I'm lucky to get one thing built every 2 or 3 years, really. So hopefully that'll change and I can get more time on the bench. But
Well, I have a question here from Marco. He's upstairs. As someone in the jewelry education sector, what are some values and advice you can give to metalsmith students worldwide? As someone in the jewelry education sector, what are some values and advice you can give to metalsmith students worldwide?
that's a great question. I would say now more than ever, the world is your oyster. Okay? You can reach out to anywhere and find the answer that you need. And seek out the answers for the questions you don't think you have. Does that make sense? Because you don't know what you don't know, right? So if you're reaching out there and you're just looking at work and going, hey, how did they do that? There's a path on how to find out how to do that now. When I was going through school, I had 3 books that I looked at, you know, and a circle of friends in the room that I could reach out to. Not anymore. Literally, the world is online.
Yeah.
And you can go to YouTube and, you know, if you're in an institution where you're having classes and you're getting a degree or a certification or whatever you're doing, that's a very small community, right? Break out of that and follow your own passion, You know, whatever looks cool to you, find out how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so many tools now to do that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, there really are. I mean, we just have information at the tip of our fingers.
Yeah, it's
for
out there.
Everything.
Yeah.
You were showing us this carabiner earlier,
Oh, yeah.
which is kind of cool because that's not something you really see a whole lot of when it comes to handmade.
I know. I'm going to put it under this camera.
Yeah.
And this was there's a society called Snags Metalsmith Society, and they had a call for entries for, what was it, a exhibition called Linked, I think it was.
Yeah.
So they asked artists to make a link that they would all link together and then auction off for fundraising. And I said, this is something I carry every day, and it's a link, it's a carabiner, right? How can I make that? And so this whole part right here is sand cast with a metal alloy called shibuichi. It's a Japanese alloy. It's like 80% copper and 20% silver. It's a beautiful pink color, and it patinas beautifully. So I sand cast that, and then I made these mechanisms based on the one I carry every day. You know, I just had to figure out the mechanics of it, reverse engineer it. So I hope to make more of these. I mean, this has such potential. I mean, these could be made out of precious metal, hand engraved, stone set.
It's such a practical thing, like the tape measure.
Yeah.
Or even the back scratcher. I love the idea of making everyday objects more beautiful.
And part of the inspiration from that is looking at old books of the old tools, Victorian tools, you know, and beyond that, where they would make these tools objects of art.
Yes.
Functional objects of art.
Japan is famous for that.
Famous for that. Super high engraved hammers and all these other things.
Oh, I almost see a face in there.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, this is a piece early on from graduate school. It's a brooch. There again, the assignment was break out into space. You know, I kind of like these mechanisms
Oh, wow.
that fit in here. It's very light and would great on a sweater. This is called reticulation. It's a process that you do with a special kind of silver. It's a 80% silver, 20% copper. Okay, so it's a little more copper than normal sterling. And what you can do is melt the core of the sterling sheet, which is mostly copper, and on the very surface is fine silver, and it cools at different rates. So when it does that, it reticulates, creates that texture.
Wow. Did you know about that? Is this new to any?
That's new to me.
It's new to me. And is this a scarab?
No, this is one of my very first bolos, and I have hence decided my bolos are way too small. This is from undergraduate school in northern Arizona, about 1994. And this again is a shibuichi, silver, gold, and this is a piece of broken stone. It's a stone head broken off, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I just kind of put it on top and incorporated it.
Wow.
It's one of my first experiments with gold, and all of it was recycled from family. They said, "Hey, I don't use this ring anymore. You want it?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, let's see the tips.
Tips.
They look like lobster claws from over here.
Get a better light on him. There's a good light.
Put your hand behind it.
Okay.
It's just the black.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, there we go.
those are like little legs. Those are awesome.
Shibuichi.
It's a great alloy,
Shibuichi.
and I really highly recommend people use it. It's a great way to use scrap.
Okay, yeah.
So you take all your sterling scrap, add a little extra copper to get the right ratio, and it's a ratio of like anywhere from 70 to 80% silver. No, wait, that's backwards. It's mostly copper and a little bit of silver, so it's about 80% copper. And it's a great way to use scrap.
And I know the melting temperature of copper is much higher, right, than silver.
But when you add the silver, it lowers it.
Lowers it.
Oh.
So this is one of my story pieces.
Oh, good.
So my grandmother and my grandfather lived in Japan. My mother did too, because they were Air Force. And she has this wonderful collection of Japanese jewelry that had all these samurais and things in it. And this is porcelain. And when she passed away, I got a bag of her jewelry. And I was like, I got to do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I got to make a bolo. And it's going to have to represent power, have strength, you know, because it's a samurai.
Yeah, of course.
And so, this is a power bolo. That's what I call it. And then it's the Shibuichi panels here.
Does anybody have any questions for Mark? This is not a jewelry sales show, just a reminder. This is one of our Digging Deep interviews, so we're just here to learn and talk and explore the wonderful world of jewelry making.
We can talk about this one.
Yeah.
So this is my most recent one. So, this is one of my most recent bracelets, and it combines two of my favorite things, copper and lapis. So what I found out is the more I worked in this kind of stuff, I had a particular kind of oval that I liked and this cross that I liked. And I took a class from a lady named Jane Redmond at Rio Grande, and her specialty, one of her specialties, is making these what they call blanking dies that cut out these shapes in a hydraulic press. So you take a piece of steel and you cut it in such a way that you can put a piece of copper or silver, gold, whatever in between it and punch out these shapes. So these are all just punched out from the same die, not hand sawn. Same thing with the oval. The oval is my favorite kind of oval, so I made a blanking die for that. And these are all the same. And one thing I do like about this is that it's magnetic assist.
Oh, wow.
It's not a magnetic clasp, right? It's a assist, so it holds it in place while I take this and just kind of put that into place and squeeze it down.
Fun.
Nope, I missed it. But that holds it together. That's my most recent piece.
And do you make all your own dies? Or do you make dies for yourself as well?
I've only made the two that I've used for this project.
Yeah.
Now that I took that class, I will definitely make more. The process is not hard, but it does take practice, just like everything else. So.
How many people teach over at Rio Grande?
2, 3, 4, 5. About 5 people.
5 people?
Yeah.
So how would somebody get involved in a class, to take a class?
Well, we don't offer classes anymore.
Oh, okay.
At Rio Grande.
Oh, okay.
Because of COVID, we had to restructure our whole building, basically. And really take our focus and efforts in helping people outside of us.
Got it.
But at the time, when we had classes, we had about 5 people. I think our combined experience and years, I mean, there's 50, close to 200 years of experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and all of us love to teach, you know.
Yeah. So then if there's somebody like locally or maybe even virtually who wanted to get involved and start learning the basics of jewelry, where would they start? Outside of like YouTube and...
Okay. So here in Albuquerque, there's definitely Lauren Toby in Meltdown Studio. She has a really great program. It's a private program, and so you can get classes whenever they're offered. And there's also studio space, I think, available from time to time if you want to stay in it. She invites a lot of people to come out and do lapidary and tooth of stone casting and things like that. It's an amazing little studio.
Meltdown Studio. Here in Albuquerque.
Yeah. On the same kind of vein, there's Christine Diener. I think that's the name of her studio as well. She holds private classes, one-on-ones. And then there's Albuquerque Silver and Stone with Eileen Ott. These are all on the website, you know,
Okay.
the
Great.
internet. And then there's C&M program, which I know you guys are familiar with.
Yeah,
about that.
we're very active with.
Very dear to my heart. I got to teach for them one semester, and that was really cool. And Harley and the whole people there really made an amazing program. And it's structured in such a way that you're going to end up with a certificate and a proof of skills to get you a job. So
We have a scholarship for that program.
We do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we do...
Holden's dad is Harley.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Okay.
Someone's asking if you teach. So you're not teaching presently, but you're helping facilitate
Right.
education in other places.
Yeah, I'm not currently teaching. I hope to get back in the classroom as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that Rio Grande we're going to be doing more video,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'll be teaching that way a little bit.
Is that really challenging?
It is, and I had no idea because I started doing video well over 10 years ago, and never knew how to do it, didn't know the process or anything like that, and I had to present how to make something in 6 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And I'm like, okay, that's weird, but what a great challenge, and so it really taught me skills on how I can take that and bring it to the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in classrooms, especially at the time, you would start a process and they would go do it and you come back and you would do it, right? But because I did video, I could go out and go, this is what we're going to do. Let's go through the steps, and it'd be much quicker, much easier to do. And the challenge of taking a very complex project like this
Yeah.
and breaking it down into 6 minutes.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, that was fun.
Very cool. Do you guys have any questions back there?
You did a great job. You mentioned that you're a dabbler in everything.
Yeah.
What other things do you dabble in besides jewelry?
Jewelry is most of it,
Yeah.
but I do a lot of dabbling in within that jewelry. So I'm getting into hand engraving. I got the tools and supplies, and I had the class. So now I'm itching to do some hand engraving,
Yeah.
hand push engraving.
Yeah.
So that's my next passion, is trying to learn how to do that. Gardening, home repair, fix it stuff.
I heard you spent some time on the Cub Scout tracks, the derby racers.
Oh, we made some good derbies, man, because I had the tools, right?
Yeah, I can imagine.
So yeah, the competition level went up quite a bit. We made some really great derby cars. Both my boys went all the way through to Eagle Scout.
Uh-huh.
So we did that. Learned how to fix cars on YouTube.
Cool.
Yeah, bought some old cars that need fixing. So
Marco has a question. Any thoughts on making metalsmithing more economically accessible and green?
great question, Marco. And the green part is in process. A lot of new jewelers are using renewable materials. If you do a little searching, you'll find tons of stuff in wood, bamboo, things like that. There's a big push to be more ethical in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're using stones, we want to be able to trace the history of that stone. How was it mined? Who mined it? And that kind of stuff. Rio Grande is really dipping really hard into that, and have stones that are really traceable.
That's awesome.
Metals are a different story. All the silver on this table is recycled, and I can't tell you that. I can't prove it, right? Because how much of it comes from the ground and how much of it comes from the scrap heap that was turned in 1922.
Yeah.
So there, in this bracelet right here, there might be stuff in there from the Victorian age, because silver and gold are continuously being recycled.
Isn't that interesting?
So the metals are a little harder to do. Making it more economically accessible, there again, that's a tough one. Picking the right tools that fit your need is the most important thing. You don't have to have the $40 hammer. You can get the $10 hammer, and build up that way. And most of the process is collecting. Over the years, you're going to collect more and more. And remember that you can make jewelry out of anything. I mean, that bracelet I showed with the lapis, that has the rubber part is from a vacuum cleaner belt. So be creative,
Okay.
find things that are laying around.
Love that.
And reuse things,
Upcycling.
So I hope that helped, Marco.
So when you go to learn something new, where are you getting your classes from?
Online? Mostly?
Online? Yeah.
I'm at that point where I've had enough experience. I can watch a video and dissect how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook groups.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Facebook groups that do it live, and I just watch their videos.
Awesome.
And I ask friends. I have a huge network of people I get to work with who, if they don't know it, they'll know somebody that does.
Yeah.
So that's how I keep my skills going forward.
Awesome. Well, I don't have any more questions. I don't know if maybe Shep does or Holden.
No, it's really great to have you in here, Mark.
Well, thank you, guys.
We look up to you because whenever we have a question, we usually Google it, and then sure enough, Mark pops up. Or we hear your name and everyone gets excited, like there's tools showing up, or we're going to learn something, and it's really cool to see some of your work.
This is my life, dude.
Yeah.
This is my life. I mean, it's a good
We're honored to have you here.
representation of it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And so, I know you've mentioned already quite a few times, but if people want to learn more and see some of your work, and see some of your videos and some of your, where do we need to send people to?
Right now, everything I have is on riogrande.com. We have a big video library there. We also have a YouTube channel. I think they even kind of separated it out for just ones I did. It's for a show called Beads, Baubles, and Jewels.
Beads, Baubles, and Jewels.
Which is still in, I think, being broadcast. But for a segment there, that's all I did. So, yeah, that's where you can see me.
Cool.
So.
Oh, great.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you very much and spending some time with us this afternoon. We learned a few things. Even Shep learned something new.
Really?
All the time. All right, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And then we'll be back here tomorrow with our regular jewelry show. And you guys have a beautiful night. Go off into the world and create something beautiful.
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.